What is up, Honey Badger Nation? Hey, this is John Kitchens, episode 93 of Expert Mentors Live. Very excited for today's episode. We've got my main man from the west side of the 21-6 on, Mr. Joe Hollo. What's happening, brother?
What's going on, man? Just sitting here enjoying the land. I listened to some MGK on the way in, and I'm all jacked up.
You know, that's a daily occurrence for me around here. I've got my EST right there, little bandana.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool, man. So what's up, man? Say hi to the Honey Badger Nation.
What's going on, Honey Badgers? I appreciate you having me on, man. I love it. I actually just talk about accountability. I just told you I just got out of my accountability session. So man, I'm ready to rock and roll.
I love it, man. I'm gonna have you kind of, for those that don't know, share a little bit of background, a little bit of information about yourself. But first, want to just touch base real quick. For a lot of you guys are new listening in, this Honey Badger community is growing exponential. Like I said, this is episode 93. We do these every Wednesday at noon Central. And it's just really an opportunity for us to tap into the horsepower of this group. As most of you know, there is a ton of talented people in this community. And these talented people really want to give back. And so Expert Mentors Live allows us to leverage the power of this community to benefit all of us with live weekly trainings provided by some of the best agents on the planet. And so make sure you guys have it marked in your calendar. Like I said, noon Central every Wednesday. We're on a run, 93. We've got the next six episodes already sketched out. People confirmed. Still trying to figure out what we're going to do with magical number 100, but I'm sure we'll do something fun with it.
Don't screw this up, Kitchens.
We'll do something. Hey, man, so tell everybody a little bit about yourself. I know, other than me, you've been on here more than anybody, but there's a lot of folks that haven't had the opportunity to tap in to you and what you guys are doing. But yeah, please kind of bring everybody up to speed.
All right, so I'm going to jump ahead. I know everybody's heard the story about my new construction background and how I wanted to beat my head against the wall for the first 5 years of my career, and I was in search of a better way. So fast forward the 5 years to when I met Mr. Al Stasek, and what a glorious day that was. Literally, it was by fluke. We worked in the same brokerage, and I happened to have lunch with one of my buddies who was doing a co-broke with him. And so Al goes, my buddy leaves, and Al goes, "So what's your problem, man? What's going on in your business?" And I said, "Man, we don't got all day." And and he goes, "No, I got some time though. Why don't you come by my office at 5 o'clock tonight?" He had a 6-pack of beer waiting there for me, and like he knew me already, but he really showed me where all the holes were in my business. And literally within 6 months of me joining him, I fired all 5 of my builders, where all of my deals came from. And because he showed me that there's a difference between thinking that you're generating money for yourself and just that illusion of speed. And I did well, but I had that illusion of speed because I was sitting in all the builders' models every Saturday, every Sunday, missing the Buckeye games, missing the Browns games, wasting my life away for them to do nothing but to take advantage of me, to be honest with you. So that was probably one of the most memorable moments of my career when he made me fire the builders. I thought I was going to go nowhere. And then all of a sudden the systems and the processes he brought me to boot camp, and he put all those systems and processes in place. And it was like a game changer for me. And
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. And so then I became one of his top listing agents, not the top, because the person that probably watching this, she'll probably fight me for that. But just a top one. I feel like I followed the process to a T. And just started moving up in the leadership role, and kind of here we are today. So we literally moved over to EXP almost a little over 2.5 years ago with 12 people. And here we are about 40 strong on our team. And the reason we're here is to talk accountability. That's one of the main things that we focused on was, creating that culture, doing it the right way, and allowing the agents to police that culture, and doing it in the form of love with accountability.
Yeah. And, for those of you that have been riding with us for over the period of time since we started these episodes, we did early on, when you guys were really embracing this whole process that we're going to unpack for everybody today. And so there is a previous episode, and I wanted to revisit this because it's really, really important that you guys get this, and especially when you have larger organizations, because and Joel, I mean, tell us how it started, right? I mean, it started out of necessity, not something that I think you guys were really looking for. It was just like, oh shit, I just don't have enough time to one-on-one these folks anymore. How can we start to create something where we still have a high level of accountability, even though I can't get to everybody one-on-one?
Yeah, and that's exactly what it was. We were about 20, just a little over 20 agents, and I'm going, I can't put 20 plus one-on-ones in my schedule every single week. And to be honest with you here, from a leadership perspective, I was fearing that we were getting a lot of, lip service and stuff on those calls, and I wasn't able to do a good enough job holding them accountable because of just the time constraint that we had. And so, you were the one who said, you know what, why don't you take them into groups? And so I'm like, damn, that's a great idea. So we started doing some group coaching sessions, and then we kind of molded it into a group accountability. And what ended up changing was the peers. You posted just this morning, was it this morning or late last night, regarding, you can't expect someone to be where you're at.
Right.
And that's exactly where, when you have the power of peers, and your peers are with you elbow to elbow in the trenches with you, and the peers are the ones pulling you up, and when you're struggling or reaching down to help you, it's a beautiful thing, and it's actually magical to watch when I don't have to step in and say, oh, this is the way that you're going to do it and help them out. Somebody else has already got it, and it's super efficient for you too. I mean, as a leader. That's
awesome. So what is a culture of accountability? I mean, what does that mean?
Well, for us, the culture of accountability is self-directed. That's probably one of the.
What does that mean? Let's unpack these words. I don't want to leave anything loose for folks out there to be their own interpretation, right? I want let's see if we can give them a little bit of clarity, because I think it's not only can they do it if they have a large team, I mean, it can be done even with themselves. So yeah, let's so self-directed. What do you guys mean by that?
So I guess the easiest way to define it is, I feel that you have two different kinds of accountability. You got the militant style, which we did, by the way. It worked great. There's a threat involved with the military style, I feel. And we because it happened to us. So when we were 12 agents strong, all of our agents, they did an average of 39 transactions each. We were killing it, and it was the finger in the forehead. Why didn't you say why didn't you do what you said you were going to do? I can't believe that we meetinged the hell out of them. We had a listing impact zone meeting, a buyer impact zone meeting, a company meeting, a meeting every single week. And we were just dialed in. And then our top two agents, no joke, $600,000 in gross commission, walked right out the door and started their own team. And the reason, it was a couple different things, okay? Because of that form of accountability. It's not always receptive in a good way to people.
Right.
And also what we found out in our business, which that's a different subject, is we actually had a ceiling where we didn't have any room for growth for them at that point, which is why we're with EXP actually. So that's the militant style, but then you have the self-directed, which is more of, even though I think you can lead with love both ways, it's more letting them come to their own conclusion, which, it allows them. It's not just, it's almost like if someone calls me and says, I have a question about this purchase agreement. What is line 34? I'm not giving them the answer. Number one, I want them coming to me with what they feel the answer is, but I'm going to make them watch the training video. It's going to show them, and then I'm going to say, why don't you give me a call back when you find out what to put in that, or what you feel goes into line 34. So it's more of a question.
I mean, people are lazy. So,
Yeah.
so how do you, find the people that are going to be self-directed, right? That have that internal motivation, that drive to do the things beyond their financial needs being met. Like, does that start in the hiring process? Does it start earlier on? I just don't feel like you're going to be able to, somebody that's coming in, that's lazy, they're not going to just embrace this and have that self-directed. So are you looking for people earlier on in the process, or what? How do you find these people?
If I'm understanding what you're asking, it's here, two things. Number one is when we changed our, the leadership ways that we were doing from militant to what we're doing now, is we're meeting them where they're at. What I mean by that is that if somebody comes in and says, you know what, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm only going to do 8 transactions this year, we're meeting them where they're at. We will provide you the services, we will provide you the leadership, and we will provide you that accountability to hit that. We don't want to overwhelm you. And as opposed to before, it was you weren't welcome on the team if you were not doing a certain production. And these groups weed out the people that are not a good fit. We literally just let go of somebody. And you don't hear that a lot in a team our size. We let go of somebody this past weekend because they were not a good fit, and these groups was the one that was weeding them out.
Gotcha.
So it's commitment based, and that's what we teach them. We teach them to break their entire their year commitment, which is, I want to make $200,000 this year, into micro commitments, and that's what these groups do. Let's break them down into literally weeks. What do you have to do on a weekly basis? What do you have to perfect? And then we're going to stack these micro commitments until we become an expert in all of them.
Gotcha. So, so creating that culture that polices itself, essentially, right? That's kind of what I'm hearing. But
yeah, and you talk a lot about, you taught me the plus minus equal, and to go a little deeper with that, what it does is, and I touched on this, a few minutes ago, but it's what we call the reach up, reach down method. And the power of peers is when they're in a group and somebody who's a brand new agent coming in, they're struggling with something. It's another one of their peers, somebody who's already perfected that micro commitment, is reaching down, pulling them up, saying, hey, I got you. This is what was successful for me. Let's try this. And they're holding them accountable to that. But then what you also see is you see those people, I think it's sometimes it's hard for people that are brand new to a company to reach up and to ask somebody for help that's above them. It's just, personality differences. And what we're finding out is those types of people are actually reaching up because they're in the group. They feel comfortable. They say, hey, I see you do this. I want to do this. Talk to me a little bit about it. Can we go have lunch? Can you tell me a little bit more about it? So it's that whole reach up, reach down, and no one's too big, no one's too small to help each other out. And that's what I see is it builds camaraderie. We lose, that gets diluted when I get a new agent that comes in. I want them to meet everybody. Well, these groups are the perfect thing.
I love that. So within these groups and what you guys are seeing, how does this tend to carry over into other aspects of their lives?
Well, it allows them. So and I'm going to circle back to that. What I didn't talk about when we said self-directed, it's the questions that are asked. It's the, when they go into these groups and they make their commitments for that week, the 3 commitments, it's so, the next week when we check in with them, so how do we do with the commitments? Well, I wasn't able to hit the commitment that I wanted to go into the gym for 5 days. Okay, no problem. Talk to me a little bit about that. What was it that caused you to not be able to hold that commitment? Was there anything in your power that you could have done to hold that commitment? How do you feel about yourself? Where else in this life is this showing up? Teaches them the power of, and by the way, the word goals, we don't even use. Their goal is to make $200,000 a year. What do you have to commit to on a micro level in order to hit that goal? So everything is worked around the words commitment. And I think the body and the mind receives that word a lot different than goals. right? Goals are what we want to achieve. Commitments are what we are, actually taking down to a little level and knowing what we need to do in order to move that needle in our real
Are you
estate.
guys helping them break that apart, right? I mean, you can't truly commit to anything unless you know what it is, right? What it takes to accomplish whatever it is that you're wanting to accomplish. So like you said, 200,000 in real estate, you got to, how many transactions, average sales price, where the deal's going to come from, X number of hours, X number of conversations, all the key, drivers that drive that result. You got to know what that is before you can say you can commit to it. People I see so many times they commit to something and they don't even know what the hell they're committing to. So do you guys take the time to help them break that apart?
Yeah, all of our agents go through a clarity meeting with us. So organically, it happened at the beginning of the year because that's how we just, that's how everybody does it. But when the agent comes in, the very first meeting that they're having with us is a clarity meeting. And we break it down just like you've taught us. This is what you want to put in your pocket this year. This is to how many on average of transactions that we're going to have to do. This is what we have to do on a monthly, on a weekly, and on a daily basis. You see the board behind me. It's got a bunch of stuff all over it, but this is our 25-10-4 board. This is based on if somebody in the Cleveland market wants to make $100,000. These are their metrics. This is what we track on a monthly basis. They also know what on a, down to a weekly basis. So these commitments are on a weekly basis. So they know exactly what they have to do and their commitments are based around that. And the neat thing about these commitments, it also shows them their capacity because everybody has, your capacity is different than mine, is different than, anybody else on the teams. So when they make a commitment to me and they say, you know what, I want to make 4 hours worth of dials this week. And then they come back and they say, hey, I was able to do it. I'm going to recommit. And here, this scenario just happened. Somebody said they wanted to do four 1 hour call blocks. They committed to it. They wanted to recommit to it this week. Somebody in the group called their ass out and said, you know what, hang on a second. You were able to complete that. Why don't you up it a little bit? Yeah. And it wasn't me. It wasn't leadership. It was one of their peers giving them a little nudge. No, let's see what you got. And then the peer, the person making the commitments doesn't want to let them down. So they're gonna they're gonna help push it along because that's when you get assigned an accountability partner, they're gonna help you move along and get it across the finish line faster.
I love that. So so talking about that, so you guys are seeing how keeping their commitments, how it's showing up. I guess you're essentially putting the mirror in their face, right? How are they showing up? How you do anything is how you do everything. So if you're not keeping your commitments here, what else is that telling us, right? Where else is that showing up? Yep.
Yeah. And here was the biggest thing is that we were 100-0. It's everywhere in our office, everywhere. I mean, our shirts, our hats, our stickers, our wristbands, everything has 100-0 on it. And, 100% accountability, 0 excuses. When we ran it like the military and we're saying, why didn't you do what you said you were going to do? What are we asking them to give us? Literally, it's an excuse. But then they had in their mind, well, 100-0. Well, I don't want to say this because this is going to be an excuse. And they didn't know we were confusing the shit out of them is what we were doing. Yeah. So it was this self-directed asking them questions. It's allowing them to see what their capacity is, allowing them to come to their own conclusion that they were able to muster out a little bit more. And I mean, we gave everybody in our office the book Can't Hurt Me. And if you ever watched the video that came out a couple years prior to it, regarding that relationship between David Goggins and of course the other guy's name is missing. I'm forgetting it, but they talk about the mind. When your body is telling you to quit, really you have, I think he says 40% left in the tank. So when you're saying that, oh, I was not able to hold my commitment, well, was there anything else that you could have done in your power to hold that commitment? It really makes people think. And right. Very rarely do I get, no, there was nothing else in my power. An unforeseen came up. Usually it's, you know what? Even though my kid was sick, I really could have made those dials, later on in the day at nap time or whatever. And it allows them just to identify that.
It's powerful. So the 100-0 principle is something that you guys have had adopted way before this, you know, commitments and accountability. And so, you know, you guys still have that 100-0 principle. So from what I guess what I just heard is that it helped really clarify what the best way to utilize that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, no, you're exactly right. I mean, and we also broke it down deeper. And, you know, here from a leadership perspective, giving 100% to our agents, you know, and expecting nothing in return. You know, so it's anywhere in your life. We could go into a ton of details. That book, and by the way, where I heard from that book was your wife. She sent it over to Al, and even though we knew what 100-0 was, I never read that book. And it's a super short book. I think if you listen to it, it's like 2 or 2.5 hours. Man, it's deep. It goes deep into your personal, your finances, spiritually, if that's your thing. But giving 100% and expecting nothing in return. And when I say giving 100% to our agents, I'm not, you know, that's a whole nother subject. I probably opened up a can of worms by saying that. But what I truly mean is this. Everybody always asks me, well, you know, why are you growing so big, so fast? And I said, because honestly, our motto is the more agents that we can get on our team, the more lives we have the opportunity to change. And it's our job as leaders, as team leaders, as brokers, whatever you want to call it. It's our job to facilitate the environment of their success and provide them every single thing possible for them to hit their success numbers. It's their job to commit to their success and to tap into all of those different variables.
Yeah. And the more mouths you guys can feed as you guys, you know, contribute to the food bank there in Cleveland. So it's fantastic.
Yep.
What let's unpack these groups. Let's give the framework. I guess before we give the actual framework for everybody, so you guys have been doing it for how long?
So we're about 1.5 years in. It was a year in October.
1.5 years in. What's been the difference?
Well, so I think the difference is here's the cool thing. The difference is I think the agents figured out what we were preaching at them is the power of consistency. And that might be there's probably a couple things, but that's probably the biggest thing. It's, you know, it starts with our daily huddle every single morning. We preach that the reason we do the huddle is because we get it. You don't want to hear our voices every single day, but it's that power of consistency. Everybody that we coach with, everybody that we follow, the most successful people in life have the healthy daily habits. And you know, having that, it'll set them free. And I think that they see that. And it also is just showing them, I think it's showing them what they're capable of doing, things that they never believed that they could do before. And they're fitting that in and they're getting successful, you know, or they're having success based on, you know, that and they're rubbing elbows with their peers. You know, when we talk about the culture not policing it, I'm sorry, we're not the ones policing the culture. We create it. It polices itself, man. It's so true. It's amazing.
So when you guys are doing these accountability groups, and I mean, are you getting face-to-face with everybody just to be able to read body language? I mean, how do you guys construct them? Yeah.
So at first I was in every single one of them. Okay. When I mean every one. So number one, the perfect group size we're told is about 6 to 10. We hover right around 6 to 8 in ours. So it's the key is it's all optional. I don't know, you know, for anybody that has a team, the smaller teams that I'm affiliated with, it's not optional on with them. It's I hate to use this word because we're all independent contractors. It's mandatory. You want to be on our team, you're part of this accountability group. If not, there's the door.
Sure.
When you get a little bit larger, we did make it optional. And here's how we tossed it up to them. It was a great company meeting. Al had a great speech just about commitment. And then we gave them 2 options. So are we all happy with the success that we had or the results that we've had in this past year from our efforts? There's always one in the crowd that'll raise their hand, but pretty much no one's going to be happy with the results. And so the options are, do you feel that you need more leads, more scripting, maybe more ninja techniques, more dashboards, or That's option one. Or do you just need more effort, more consistency, and more commitment, and maybe a little more accountability? Then that gets them to think, oh crap, I do have everything at my fingertips. I do just need that consistency, the accountability. And everybody kind of shifts towards that. Yeah, it's the accountability one. Perfect. Well, then, we have these accountability groups that are coming up. We were also told a group of our size, if you had right around a 30% success number, I guess, with participants, that's considered success. Ours was in the high 90s. We literally had one person that said, you know what, that's not for me. And then guess what? They saw everything going on. The next session they were in. So that's what really happens. And so here's the outline of how these groups really work. So it's a 6-week program. Okay, it's 6 on, 2 off. The group size, like I said, is somewhere between 6 and 10 people. Very healthy. So you get together once a week for 1 hour. We have a list of foundation rules that I'll post the PDF that anybody can utilize. Actually, I'll post. Yeah, are we able to post Word documents in here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yeah, you
so
can share them in the documents. You can tag it in there.
Yeah,
post.
I'll share that so that way you guys can edit it and put your own logos and stuff on it. But what I have to tell you, here's what we failed at up front. This is there's no leaders in this room. It doesn't matter what position you're in or what label you have in a company. It's facilitated. That's all it is. Everybody's on the exact same wavelength. I made the mistake that I was in all these. I was the facilitator or the leader, and we actually had a situation where it came down on me because of one of the rules that had to be enforced. Well, I was the one enforcing the rule, and it came across like that it was being led by leadership. Well, it's not. So I took myself out of the groups. I'm actually in only one group, and there's facilitators in all the groups. The group chooses, they have a foundation, they choose which rules that they want to continue with, which is usually all of them. And then they'll add 1 or 2 rules depending on what their groups choose. It is a group decision for everything. Okay, I guess the 2 biggest rules that I want to go over with you is in this 6-week period, if you're late or miss one time or a combination of the 2, so if that totals 2 times, you're out of the group, you're kicked out. And we wanted no gray area, so we literally said 0 excuses. And that's where it was hard at first, because here's the deal. I'm going to sound cold-hearted. If somebody died, not an excuse. If you got in a car accident, not an excuse. You cannot miss again or be late again, because you will be booted out of the group. So, and we usually have about a 25% fallout rate every single time, because there are unforeseens, but those are the rules. Now you have to wait till the 6 weeks is over. We have a 2-week break, and then we start them up again. You have to wait till the next session. And there are people every single day on our huddle, hey, I'm looking so forward to the next session starting. When's that next session start? When are we going to do this? So it's really cool on what that creates. And they hear also every day on our huddle, oh, I got to hold my commitment, my groups in 2 days, and I still got to get X, Y, and Z done. And it's creating that, it does, I think it creates the momentum, right? And that's huge in our office, because momentum creates momentum. Yeah. So the foundation we're very strict about, and like I said, I think there's 15 rules. There's no phones, there's no side talk, meaning if someone's talking about it, you're not going to lean over to your person and say, oh yeah, I had this phone call the other day and you're not going to believe they said something similar. No, there's no side talk. It's attention straight to that person. There's nothing too big or too little. If you are struggling with something, you are going to bring it up. You're going to let the group know. So, and then there's a worksheet on how to properly ask the questions. Get the word why out of your vocabulary, because that's a judgment word. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do what you said you're going to do? That's where that excuse ends up coming in. So, what's that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was just, it's really eye-opening. And like I said, so these groups are, it's not perfected. It's actually, as we go, we tweak them, knowing on how, all the personalities fit. We want everybody to be involved. We actually created an evening session for the agents that have full-time jobs so they can, tap into and utilize that. And I mean, that's the quick rundown of it. While they're in the groups, what happens during that? So they're going to make 3 actionable and measurable commitments every single week.
Every week.
Every week.
Okay.
All right. They are going to be assigned a rotating accountability partner. So every week it changes. 1 week, you and I are accountability partners. So we're going to be able to check in daily with each other. How you doing with this? You said you wanted to start this book and get 50 pages read. How you doing with that book?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the book. It's not surface level. And so that's also how you meet new people and you understand personalities, and that culture grows because you're, once again, rubbing elbows with somebody you might not know. And then the next week, I'll have somebody else as the accountability partner. But here's, from the leadership perspective, this is the beauty of everything. Now, I can literally go and ask an accountability partner, hey, John, how's Joel doing? How's he doing with his commitments? Oh, yeah, Joel's doing good. He said he didn't start his book yet, but he's doing this. He's doing this. And you're not going to believe he actually set up 3 appointments for himself. And then naturally what happens? Oh, and here are my commitments, and here's how I'm doing. But then I get to go to somebody else and say, hey, so how's John doing? Is he doing what he said he was going to do? And it's a really cool dynamic. And so it's accountability just on that next level too, when the leadership starts getting involved.
That's fantastic. Do you guys, so the time and place of those meetings, does the group determine that, or do you guys set it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so good. So with the group R size, we put a poll out on our private Facebook page, and we just say, hey, here's 4 times throughout the week, Mondays at 1, Tuesdays at 1, Wednesdays at 1, and maybe Thursdays at 10 a.m. What worked? Choose all the ones that are okay with you, and everybody shoots in there. And then when they don't, I like to send them a nice little text message. And by the way, the best text message that ever works to get a response, whether it's from a client or from an agent, is everything okay? ? You will always get a response. So I hit them with the, hey, was looking for, I didn't see you responded to the poll that we put on Facebook. Is everything okay? And I will get that response, and I'll get a huge buy-in from everybody. But yeah, we give them kind of not necessarily the options, just so we know where to place them, and then we jumble up the groups every 6 weeks. You're with a whole new group. You might have 1 or 2 people that were in your past group, but you're with a whole new group, and it's a whole new dynamic. It's a whole new facilitator. And that was the other thing that we had to learn, is when I stepped out of the leadership position with these groups, because I couldn't wrap my head around the facilitator. Then we started training how these facilitators facilitate each of these groups, and it worked out beautifully. We had leaders step up, and they just run the groups. We have ongoing Google Docs. So actually, they're Google Sheets, where everybody's name is on it. They have little check boxes next to each week on here's where they're at with their commitments. They log in themselves. They check them off. And we even started a private Facebook page inside of our private Facebook page called 100 Accountability, and people jump in there and they're like taking, it's similar like our daily accountability. They're taking a picture of them at the gym. Hey, I'm 3 out of 5 days in already, and the group gives them praise.
Right. And
they're able to just share their successes.
It's fantastic. And we were talking about 100 and the book that you mentioned, that I believe that author is Al Ritter.
Yeah.
Super short book. I mean, a lot of pictures. So it's definitely an easy read and gets right to the point. So the fantastic. And then, so you guys run that. Why do you do 6 and then 2 off? What's the reasoning behind that?
You know what? It's just to give them a break. So I have been asked before, like, why don't you just go right into the next session? I'm gonna be transparent. I don't have an answer for that. I really don't. This is just what we were told was the best rhythm, was 6 on, 2 off, 6 on. Kind of gives them a break to what I feel really happens is the roller coaster, right? They're on a high coming off of it, and then they realize that without the accountability, they're not doing as much as they were doing before, and then they're right back on it. So it gets people excited to come into the office. I know a lot of groups out there that we're affiliated with, they do them virtually. If we did one through all of EXP, yeah, I'd do it virtually. But as far as us running an office, not an option of doing it virtually. It's you're coming into the office.
You're doing it face to face, right?
Oh, it's all face to face. And I mean, I can walk out my door right now and show you right now. So I had a title rep that we don't deal with, but he was trying to sell a business. He came into the office and he goes, like 2 hours ago, and he goes, "Holy shit, look at all these agents in the office." Right? That's what we want. We want to reward the behavior that we're looking for. So therefore, they're in the office. They're creating that. He goes, "This atmosphere is amazing." Yeah, they're all fooling around. You know, we got great music playing. And so that's what it does. I want the agents in the office. You know, when I said before, momentum breeds momentum. That's all that it is, man. It's like when they're around other agents that are doing good, and they're just, next, you know, organically their business takes off.
No, it's fantastic. So the virtual aspect for those, I wouldn't do, if we did it virtual, I would make sure you use something like Zoom.
Yeah.
To where, because you've got to have that body language, right?
Yeah.
And also making sure that everybody's being present, like you said, with some of those guidelines that, hey, no sideline conversations, we got to be fully engaged. So yeah, I would, if you guys go the virtual route with it, which I don't think there's a problem, utilize a tool like this, utilize Zoom, utilize to where you guys can see the body language, because that's, I mean, what is that? 65+% of all communication is through body language. So yep. Being able to have that, especially when it comes to commitments, is key.
Yeah. And it's also, you know, for me, running late is one huge thing. And everybody always says, you know, that's another rule that we have in the amazingly, get this, we have to cross off the list. Okay, what constitutes late? If we start at 1, is it through the 1 o'clock time period until it hits 1:01? Or is it, do you shut the damn door when it turns 1 on the button? So it's because all these gray areas that we happen to hit. But look, it says 1 o'clock. All right, no, the door gets shut at 1 o'clock, and that's the rules. So the reason why that's the biggest for me is, I think you said it to me. If you show up to a $500,000 listing appointment late, do you think you're getting the job? Hell no. So it teaches them the importance of that. Get your ass in the office. There's zero excuses that you had to stop and get gas on the way or this or that. You already know that if you're late, you can still come and you can observe, but you cannot participate.
Man, the thing that always triggers me with being late is like, what is that teaching your kids when you're late? I'm like, shit, like it ain't okay to be late. Right. Nope. And I don't want my kids to think that that's okay too. And yeah, it's just how you frame it and how you create those guidelines. Any other guidelines that you guys have within this framework?
Yeah, there's let me see if I have I might have a group. If not, I'll pull it up and share it with you.
Yeah, I think there's like seven steps of it.
Yeah. Okay. So I got the steps. The action results is what we call them. And number 1, it's so every single week we get together. Number 1, John, did you have a commitment?
Yes.
Number 2, did you keep it?
Of course.
So if it was no, so here, celebrate the small victories. Congratulate them. What went well? What was it that you feel that you were very successful of when you held that commitment?
Perfect.
If it went no, so let me ask you this: what got in the way?
Yeah, 100%.
Number 4 is in the realm of all that's possible, could you have kept that commitment?
Absolutely.
Number 5 is, what did you learn about yourself by not keeping that commitment?
Doesn't make the calendar, it doesn't happen.
Yep. Do you want to recommit? That's a huge one. You ready to recommit? We use that word all the time.
Are you looking for them to recommit on the same commitment, or is it a recommit to something different?
If they were not able to hit it and they say, yeah, you know what, I probably could have done this, this, and this. Hey, you ready to recommit to it? Yep, recommit to this commitment until they end up hitting that.
And then, of course, they can say no, right? No, I don't want to recommit to that. I found out that I'm not going to keep that commitment ever. Right.
Right.
So I do want to commit, but I want to commit to this.
Right. Yeah. And so that could happen, right? These are their commitments. So it like I said before, it allows them to see their capacity. Maybe they didn't hit it and they don't think that they're going to hit it next week. Don't set them up for failure, and then, but then once again, let them choose. The group's going to call their ass out if it's too light.
What happens when somebody is consistently not keeping their commitments? They're not engaged. They're not playing out. At what point do you guys, like you said, you found that somebody wasn't a fit, right? Maybe they were a fit in the beginning, when you go through the process of bringing somebody on, and then people change over time, right? Environment stronger than willpower. And they realize that, man, they're not a good fit here. At what point do you like, hey man, you're not keeping your commitments, you're not doing the things you need to do to be successful. You're not meeting our minimum standards. Like, dude, you got to go. Like how does that all start to transpire?
Well, it's, here's the deal. I think the human will, when they start letting the people down, their peers around them, it's going to be, it immediately comes out. And obviously we all try to coach them up. But we virtually immediately coach them out. They get embarrassed. They stop showing up, to be honest. It's not, they weed themselves out.
They just ghost. Yep.
Yeah. They weed themselves out, period. And then, we have the conversation with them on a leadership level, and then they're gone.
Let them roll.
Yeah.
Got it. Any of the other steps there on kind of the process?
Yeah. Acknowledge them for what they do, right? Praise them, let them talk about it a little bit, celebrate those small victories. Like we talked about. It goes into, and this is going to be posted as well. So it talks about eliminating the word why from your leadership vocabulary.
What's a better word? How would you reframe that? If you're looking for the rationale, the reasoning, how would you frame that when you're really trying to get to the root of it?
Well, it's, once again, the self-directed is them coming up to the conclusion that we want to hear as a leader. So instead of saying, why didn't you do that, is what got in the way? It's great. Anything in your power that you could have done to hold that commitment.
I like that.
Yep. And then, it talks, the last two bullet points kind of talks about how you cannot make the human be productive. You just facilitate the best condition for them, and then they choose at that point whether they want to be productive or not. Right.
Do you help them get clear on what productivity means? Because it's loose, right? It means something different for everybody. And do you guys kind of help define that?
Well, you know what? I think that's in their clarity meeting. They understand what they need to do as far as being productive. Because here's how the groups normally start out. My commitments this week are going to be, I want to get to the gym 3 days. I want to go on date night with my wife. And I'm going to make 5 calls a day. That's cool. Those are your first set of commitments. That's great. The next week comes, yeah, I'm going to up that to 10 dials a day. I'm going to still go to date night. Dude, everybody's going to jump on them like a pack of wolves, because it's like, hey, hold on. We allowed that to slip for the first time, but no, this is what's going to help you commit to your success. What are your metrics that we need to start pushing? And the groups just jump right on.
Does the group really understand at a high level what you're wanting to accomplish? So like you and I are in this group. I understand at a high level what you're trying to accomplish, right? What is the bigger goal, right?
Yeah.
And then making sure that your commitments are in alignment to what it is that you're wanting to accomplish.
Yeah, great question. So the first couple sessions, no, it was just a free for all. It was like, I'm going to do these commitments out there. Well, what we ended up changing up is, so the very first session, because they're so, the algorithm is, we get there, we talk about our commitments, what we were able to, accomplish, what we weren't, and then we set the new commitments. It literally takes up a whole hour. The very first session, you're not talking about your commitments because we haven't made them yet. So we spend the first 30 minutes going around the room and talking about what we want to accomplish by the end of these 6 weeks. It's all,
love that.
Yeah. So we document all of that, and now everybody can hold them accountable on that level as well.
Right. So it's like, for example, right, some guys like, I know he ain't trying to, he ain't trying to work on his relationship, right? He's trying to get out of his relationship. And he's saying he's going to be going on date night. I'd be like, mofo, you ain't going on no damn date night because that ain't in alignment to what you want to accomplish. So why would you make that commitment? So I think that's key that you guys uncover that. It's super, super important, right? You know, if we're not in alignment, if our behavior is not in alignment, you know, then we're not going to do it. Yeah. So I think that's key that you guys get clear on the bigger picture.
Yeah. And not only that, but we even took it to another step, and I'm not saying that this is the answer, because I do get a little pushback at this, but this is what's worked for us, is we create a punishment. If you do not hold a commitment, you set the punishment. What is enough to pain you for not holding your commitment? Well, some people it's monetary, right? Some people say, yeah, I'll throw in $50 per commitment, but then the money gets donated. So we figure out somewhere where the money's going to go prior to all of this, because by the way, hey, after we're all done to go out and we're just going to put it on a bar tab and have a great time, don't celebrate you not holding your commitments. So you want to make sure it's going to go to somewhere that pains you. Dan Walters in our group, you're going to love this. One of his pain points is literally walking across the parking lot to our competition and buying them lunch. He literally drops off lunch to our competition right across the parking lot if he does not hold a commitment. Because why? That's enough to pain him.
Hell yeah, it is.
Right. I don't want to go there and support our competition and give them food. So you better believe he's digging deep and he's holding his commitments because he don't want to do that. So we put a little punishment on the end of it, and it keeps it fun, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely got to be a little stick there, especially with salespeople, man. You gotta have a stick. It's gotta be a little painful, for sure. So no, it's fantastic. I mean, even we've done, some fun stuff, watching everybody else in the group, they're washing their vehicle for them or something, just shit like, man, I don't want to do that. So yeah, it's gotta be tough there. Well, that's fantastic, man. So, any of the other pieces there that you guys have really learned start it to the way it is now, right? And well, here's another question that's kind of on my mind. I mean, how, the group of 15 or 20 then versus now over the last year and a half, right? What are some of the big changes that you guys have seen?
Are we going to go into the good, the bad, and the ugly?
Why not?
All right, cool. So, one of the things that we saw, and so I talk about consistency, and, one of the things that they've learned is how to create consistency in their schedule. But we've also learned that it starts from the top, right? You have to practice what you preach. And I'll be the first to admit, humans are a funny thing. And so what do? Something works, we stop doing it. And so it starts with me. And so I need them to see how consistent we are with what we do, what we're promising,
100%.
Yeah, we're also delivering. And that's probably one of the biggest things that I learned as a leader. Like, hey, these commitment groups, you're one of the, we're all together in this. And you need to create that consistency. And when you say you're going to do something, do it. And but what it's really created in a really good way is that open and honest communication. That's one of our core values, is open and honest communication. Well, it works both ways. It's the, hey, what got in the way of you holding that commitment? Me asking you, but it's also you saying, hey, by the way, you were supposed to get those script books over to me and you forgot to.
Right.
There's no fear, but it's at a very respectful level. But I want that big, open and honest communication. And these groups, the culture, it's not even the right word. I love the word culture, but we just laughed our ass off for an hour in there because it's a good energy in there. Judgment-free zone. It started out where there was very by the book, and it's almost like we're on trial and there's a judge sitting up there, and it's nothing like that. It's very light. And it's created so much, man. It really has. And
it's awesome.
And honestly, as you grow, as everybody on here is growing their team, that's probably another thing that it checked off the list for us. It gets people involved, and you can utilize these groups in a really good way. One of the things that we'll do is If somebody is, we'll pay for their transfer license to get their license transferred over to the brokerage and join our team. But if we're going to front that money, we want you to commit to one of these groups. Get them involved. It gets them involved and it gets them into the office if you do have that office. Do
you let them select what groups, or do you guys kind of place the groups to keep them rotating around?
We place the groups. And the ninja technique is, if two people don't like each other, put them in the same room.
Put them in the same group. Absolutely. Cool. And you and Al as leaders, are you guys making sure that you're a part of a group as well?
Yeah. Oh yeah. All the leaders and our affiliates too. So title company has not been able to make it, but our lenders in these groups as well. And yes, we split up leadership. So here's the other lesson that we learned. We used to do our own leadership one. You
got to get in there with the rest of the.
You got to get in there. Here, what were we thinking? It was honestly, it was stupid.
Create silos. You don't want to do that, right?
Yeah. And so man, we got in there and it creates that camaraderie. It's great. And by the way, it's not every week that I hold my commitment. So they see that, holy shit, he's human. And here I gotta pay for
build trust. Yeah. People being vulnerable, being real. That's how we build trust. So that's fantastic. Bro, I appreciate it, man. Taking the time. I know you had to juggle and move some things around, but I really wanted to capture this for the Honey Badger Nation, and really just add some value, because I know a lot of our Honey Badgers, their organizations are growing, and it's just a great way to create, like you said, create that culture to be able to lead at the highest of levels.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm gonna post all the stuff that I promised you guys, the foundation and the seven steps of the accountability in here. Take it, run with it, edit it, and if you have any questions about the accountability, about the groups and what we've had to change, we're all here. So you reach out to me, Facebook Messenger. You guys know how to get a hold of me. Nothing's off limits.
It's awesome, man. Well, for all of you guys tuning in or listening to the recording, make sure you guys, share some big takeaways, and then also make sure you guys give plenty of love to Mr. Joe Hollo over in the 21-6.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you so much for having me on, man. I won't miss these for anything. So
awesome, brother. I appreciate you. See you guys.
You too. Later.